Nobody knows what happened to this missing plane. March 8, 2014. At exactly 12:41 a.m., a Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777 lifted off from Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Its destination was Beijing, China. On board were 239 people, families heading home, business travelers preparing for meetings, students chasing new opportunities, and a crew that had completed similar flights countless times before. For everyone involved, this was supposed to be just another routine journey. But within hours, the aircraft would disappear. No distress call. No emergency signal, no warning, just silence. More than a decade later, despite one of the largest and most expensive search operations in aviation history, nobody can say with complete certainty what happened to Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370. And that is what makes this story one of the greatest mysteries of the modern age. Because the deeper investigators looked, the stranger everything became. The aircraft assigned to the flight was a Boeing 777-200ER, one of the safest and most reliable passenger aircraft ever built. The captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah, was a highly experienced pilot with more than 18,000 hours of flying experience. His co-pilot, Fariq Abdul Hamid, was also qualified and respected. Nothing about the flight appeared unusual. The weather was calm. The aircraft had passed inspections. Passengers boarded normally. Everything seemed perfect. At 1:07 a.m., the aircraft transmitted routine flight information. All systems appeared normal. 12 minutes later, air traffic controllers instructed the crew to contact Vietnamese airspace controllers as the aircraft approached the boundary between jurisdictions. The response came back calm and professional. Good night. Malaysian 370. Those would become some of the most famous final words ever spoken from a commercial airliner, because moments later, the aircraft vanished from civilian radar. At first, nobody panicked. Radar contacts occasionally disappear. Technical glitches happen. Controllers expected the aircraft to reappear within minutes. It didn't. As concern began to grow, investigators turned to military radar systems. What they found would completely change the direction of the investigation. Instead of continuing toward Beijing, MH370 appeared to have made a dramatic turn. The aircraft had deviated from its planned route. Then it continued flying west across Malaysia. This wasn't a simple navigational mistake. The turn was deliberate. Someone or something had changed the aircraft's course. But why? That question would haunt investigators for years. As search teams focused on the South China Sea, they expected to find wreckage quickly. After all, large commercial aircraft don't simply disappear. Yet days passed, then weeks. Nothing. No debris, no life rafts, no oil slicks, nothing. The ocean seemed to have swallowed the aircraft whole. Meanwhile, investigators uncovered another extraordinary clue. Although the aircraft had disappeared from radar, it had continued communicating with a satellite system operated by Inmarsat. Not through normal messages, not through voice transmissions, but through tiny electronic handshakes, automatic signals, small digital pings. The aircraft and satellite had exchanged these signals for nearly 7 hours after MH370 disappeared from radar. 7 hours. If those signals were accurate, the aircraft had remained airborne long after the world believed it was gone. And if the aircraft was still flying, someone was likely in control. The satellite data launched one of the most complex investigations in aviation history. Engineers analyzed every signal, every timestamp, every tiny detail. Using advanced mathematical models, investigators estimated where the aircraft may have traveled. Their calculations pointed toward a vast and remote area of the southern Indian Ocean, a place so isolated that some parts had never been thoroughly searched before. The location created a terrifying possibility. If MH370 had indeed flown into that region, finding it would be like searching for a needle in an ocean-sized haystack. Yet governments committed enormous resources. Ships, aircraft, submarines, specialized underwater drones. Millions upon millions of dollars were spent. Still nothing appeared. The mystery only deepened. As public interest exploded, theories emerged everywhere. Some were reasonable, others were bizarre, and a few bordered on science fiction. One theory suggested catastrophic mechanical failure. Perhaps a fire had broken out. Maybe smoke filled the cockpit. The crew could have become incapacitated. The aircraft might have continued flying on autopilot until fuel exhaustion. At first glance, this explanation seemed possible, but investigators encountered problems. The deliberate course changes detected by radar suggested active human input. A simple onboard fire didn't fully explain those maneuvers. Another theory focused on hijacking. Could someone have taken control of the aircraft? Could terrorists have redirected the flight? Authorities examined passenger backgrounds, crew records, travel histories, electronic devices, yet no convincing evidence of a traditional hijacking ever emerged. The theory remained possible but unsupported. Then came perhaps the most controversial possibility of all, the pilot. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah became the focus of intense scrutiny. Investigators analyzed his personal life, his relationships, his finances, his online activities, everything. Some reports suggested that a flight simulation route found on his home computer showed paths similar to parts of the southern Indian Ocean. This discovery generated headlines worldwide. For some observers, it appeared suspicious. Others argued the evidence was circumstantial. After all, aviation enthusiasts often experiment with unusual routes in flight simulators. No definitive proof ever connected the captain to a deliberate act. Friends described him as professional. Family members defended him. Authorities found no clear motive. Years later, debate continues. Was the captain involved? Or was he simply another victim? No one knows. As investigators searched for answers, the ocean finally revealed something. In July 2015, more than a year after the disappearance, a piece of aircraft debris washed ashore on Réunion Island in the Indian Ocean. Experts examined the object. The conclusion was remarkable. It belonged to MH370. For the first time, investigators had physical evidence. The aircraft had indeed ended up somewhere in the Indian Ocean. Additional debris would later be discovered on beaches, across Africa and nearby islands. Wing fragments, interior components, sections consistent with a Boeing 777. Each piece confirmed the same reality. MH370 had crashed. But where and why? Those questions remained unanswered. The debris solved one mystery while creating another. Ocean currents explained how wreckage could travel thousands of miles, yet they didn't reveal the final crash location. Search teams expanded operations. Sophisticated sonar equipment mapped the ocean floor. Thousands of square kilometers were scanned. Investigators expected to find the wreckage eventually. Instead, the ocean continued keeping its secrets. Years passed. Still no main fuselage. Still no black boxes. Still no definitive answers. The absence of evidence became one of the strangest aspects of the case. Modern aircraft are filled with tracking systems, communication technologies, emergency equipment, yet somehow, a Boeing 777 carrying 239 people had vanished almost completely. As time went on, independent researchers entered the investigation. Engineers, data analysts, aviation experts, many believed they could solve the puzzle. Some argued the official search area was incorrect. Others claimed new satellite interpretations pointed elsewhere. Competing theories emerged, each backed by complex calculations, each claiming to hold the key, yet none produced the missing aircraft. The mystery survived every challenge, every theory, every investigation. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of MH370 is what it reveals about our world. We live in an age of satellites, smartphones, global communications, technology capable of tracking nearly everything. And yet, an enormous passenger aircraft disappeared. Not in the 1950s, not in the early days of aviation, but in the 21st century. The disappearance exposed weaknesses in global tracking systems that few people realized existed. As a result, aviation authorities introduced new tracking requirements, new safety measures, new technologies. The aviation industry learned valuable lessons, but those lessons came at an unimaginable cost. Today, families of the passengers and crew continue searching for answers. For them, the mystery isn't just an interesting story, it's personal. Some still hope for a breakthrough, a discovery, a piece of evidence that finally explains what happened during those final hours. And perhaps one day, that evidence will emerge. Maybe the wreckage will be found. Maybe the black boxes will be recovered. Maybe the truth is still waiting somewhere beneath the waves of the Indian Ocean. But until that day arrives, MH370 remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. A modern aircraft, 239 people, one routine flight, and a disappearance that changed aviation forever. The final radar contact lasted only seconds. The final satellite handshake came hours later. Between those two moments lies a mystery that continues to challenge experts, investigators, and governments around the world. A mystery that even today refuses to be solved. And somewhere beneath the vast darkness of the Indian Ocean, the answer may still be waiting.